Romantic relationships, especially those that end in marriage, are lovely to see. However, some people fail to appreciate what they have at home and go searching for excitement elsewhere, committing adultery. These days, with cameras everywhere, it has become easier to catch those cheating moments, and that is exactly what many outraged wives and husbands have ended up doing. That is precisely what you are going to see here today. So go ahead and leave your like, click the button below to subscribe, and let us dive in. Take a look at what happened in the countryside of the state of Maranhão in Brazil, in the city of Santa Lucia do Paruá. Pastor Juraci, who was supposed to be a faithful man devoted to God, was caught committing adultery. And on top of that, it was with a young woman from church, much younger than both he and his wife. His wife was at work but was constantly getting phone calls from Ellen, Pastor Juraci's mistress, during their intimate moments. This time, the wife returned home earlier than usual, feeling suspicious, and to her dismay, there was her own husband all over another woman. Furious, she began recording the act of betrayal. But surprisingly, Ellen broke her phone in an attempt to stop her from filming. No problem though. She had another device and resumed recording once everyone had calmed down a bit. During the recording, yet another woman arrives to see what was going on amidst all the shouting.
The
video began circulating around town and soon found its way onto the internet, gaining thousands of views. It put a spotlight on the adulterous pastor, as well as the young woman who, besides knowing she was involved with a married man, kept calling his wife to torment her. Perhaps, if not for that detail, the two might still be sneaking around, but that mocking behavior caused their entire scheme to collapse. Look at what this woman did. Although she was married to a military police officer, she had already been cheating on him for quite some time. It all started when the husband began suspecting something after his wife acted strangely around him once. According to his own account in the video, she went off on her own one day at the gym. That same day, he followed her and saw her enter a different gym where her lover worked. At the time, the officer kept a cool head and decided to wait so he could gather proof of the betrayal. Eventually, one day, he finally caught the pair going into an unfinished house. Notice that the house was empty, with only a mattress on the floor. One can imagine what that mattress was meant for. They had just entered the house, and the officer showed up right behind them. So he did not exactly catch them in the act, but the adultery was more than obvious. No respectable woman would be found in such circumstances by her own husband. Throughout the video, both the wife and the lover try to defend themselves. However, what was happening in that house was more than clear to everyone. The wife, even though she would not admit to cheating at first, eventually tried to get him to talk to her before filing for divorce, but it was no use. She was definitely out of luck. Then there is this man who caught his wife at a snack bar with her lover, yet did not make a huge scene. Instead, he calmly walked in and asked what was going on. The lover, who maybe did not even know she was married, initially did not mind the intrusion too much, but after realizing what was actually happening, he was absolutely terrified.
Amigo dela. Amigo? Agora você sai para comer com amigo no samba. Eu quero saber de você. Agora você sai para comer com amigo no samba?
Look at his expression, completely different from before, when he was eating his food without a care, despite the husband standing right there. The wife, on the other hand, felt uneasy from the start about getting caught. The worst part is that she had even taken off her wedding ring. It could not be more obvious that she was indeed cheating. The husband, however, did not lose his composure. After confronting her and confirming the betrayal, he simply ended the recording and left. Good thing he kept his cool and did not resort to violence, which happens in many similar scenarios. If the lover was already that frightened once he realized the man in front of him was the woman's husband, imagine if a fight had broken out right there. He probably would have tried to run off. In the city of Manaus in Brazil, a wronged wife refused to remain silent and went straight to her husband's lover's workplace, which happened to be a department store. She stirred up a huge commotion, catching the attention of customers and employees alike. The incident took place at a store called Bemol, and it got everyone talking. The scorned wife had completely lost control, telling everyone in the store that they had a shameless homewrecker employed there. She even brought printed copies of the messages shared by her husband and his lover, proving the affair happened during the lover's work hours right at that store.
Você que é o gerente? Tem todas as fotos dessa prostituta aí, que ela manda foto à noite pro meu marido.
This is why it is important to keep your cool in moments like this, so things do not end up getting even worse. In the end, this wife humiliated herself publicly on top of suffering from the affair. Moreover, this behavior could very well land her in legal trouble if the lover decides to sue for the public exposure. Tough situation, right? But in times like these, anger and frustration can easily take over. It is very difficult. Have you ever used that Google site, Google Street View? It is great for when you are lost. Instead of just seeing roads on a map, you can freely explore the city as if you were physically there. You can look around, go forward and backward, and even turn onto different streets. However, in order to capture those images used by Google Street View, the company drives around a highly noticeable car equipped with multiple ultra-high-tech cameras on the roof. Juliana Lima shared on her social media the journey she went on through her own neighborhood after she spotted the Google car. And guess what she found? Her boyfriend riding his motorcycle through the streets. But he was carrying a woman on the back. She began a real chase around the area until she recognized the path, leading to a small park where he always took her on dates. The woman on the back of his bike was definitely not her.
A essa altura estava crendo que era só pela noia da minha cabeça que não podia ser ele. Mas era o indivíduo e minha melhor amiga. Estou arrasada.
Imagine finding out you are being cheated on thanks to the Google car. Juliana was so determined in her pursuit that she eventually caught her boyfriend resting his head on her best friend's lap. Nowadays, with cameras everywhere, it is truly risky to do things like commit adultery. But for those who behave, it is one more reason to feel safe. These curious bystanders, who live right across from a motel, filmed some chaos unfolding due to an affair. It happened in a place called Thailandia, located in the state of Pará in Brazil, not the country of Thailand. This couple who lives right across from the motel must witness plenty of wild situations, but this one became newsworthy. They filmed a woman who was furious, wanting to get her husband's mistress. There were even 2 motorcycles knocked down in front of the motel when the recording began.
Olha aí, ó. A mulher sempre merece.
When things looked like they were about to get really ugly, the husband of the woman holding the phone stepped in to keep the mistress from being attacked. Good thing, because the outraged wife was growing out of control. As soon as the neighbor and a few others pulled the 2 women apart, she made as if to leave, searching for her motorcycle key. She was still cursing at the mistress and at her own husband. If he was lucky, he probably ended up sleeping on the couch that night. During a child's birthday party that was also celebrating a baby shower, the dad, who was not actually the father at all, decided to reveal precisely that. His wife was pregnant with someone else's child, and he announced it in front of all the family members and close friends. He starts off by taking the microphone to thank everyone for coming to his wife's baby shower and birthday party, then casually reveals that she has been pregnant for 6 months, not 4 as everyone believed, exposing the affair. He introduces his lawyer, who shows all the evidence. At that point, his wife starts begging him to stop and talk things over privately, but he refuses. Her father grows worried, but the husband tells him not to interfere and continues sharing those shocking details, including footage from a security camera showing his wife's infidelity. She had been telling everyone she had been taking gym classes for many years. Instantly, the celebration devolves into chaos, with the lover getting a face full of cake from his own wife, who was also there. There may not be a more dramatic way to reveal an affair than this. It is straight out of a soap opera finale. After he says everything he wants to say, the husband of the pregnant wife walks out, with her trailing after him in an attempt to calm him down. The cameraman does not even know who to film amidst all that commotion. Here is a scandal where a woman who claimed to be so virtuous was caught by her own husband in a motel with the neighbor plus another woman. You heard that right, there were 3 people involved. This happened in the countryside of the state of Tocantins in Brazil and shocked the entire country when the footage spread on social media. In the recording, the betrayed husband even says he is going to send the video to his wife's parents, who believed she would never do such a thing. He speaks quite angrily, ordering her to confess everything on camera, and she ends up telling the truth.
Eu tô te perguntando, rapaz, tu não brinca comigo não. Tu foi pro motel? Foi. Com o cara e com a menina.
On top of all that, the neighbor was also married, so everyone was in the wrong. To make matters worse, they brought a 3rd person to join the fun. That is definitely not something a proper lady is supposed to do. There are so many women looking for a decent man out there, and she ended up wasting her chance by destroying her own marriage for this fling. Who knows how many more secret parties she might have had in the past, right? This man had been suspicious of his wife, so he went to a motel with the help of a friend. And guess what? The two of them found his wife there in a car with his best friend. Kadu, the husband, was absolutely furious. He asks Leo, the friend, what he is doing there with his wife while the other person records everything. From what they are saying, it seems that Leo was also married, so besides losing a friend, he might end up in hot water with his own family. Kadu keeps his foot against the car door, preventing Leo from getting out. Even the motel employee got involved, closing the window so as not to be filmed. Before the police arrived, all sorts of things happened in that chaos.
Não vai descer do carro, não. Não vai descer do carro, não. Não vai descer do carro, sua desgraça. Seu filho da... Você tem que virar onda, Léo.
Que isso, Fabiola?
Que isso, Fabiola? Olha no Xbox, olha no Xbox.
Que isso, Léo?
Olha no Xbox, não vou descer isso, não.
When situations like this happen, the best thing is simply to file for divorce and cut ties with that so-called friend. But it is truly hard to keep your emotions in check. Imagine building a family just to be betrayed by two people you trusted most. It is devastating. In the end, he lost both his wife and his best friend all because of that affair. The worst part is that Leo tried to justify himself, claiming he and Fabiola had gone to the motel just to talk. Yeah, right. In the United States, a suspicious husband decided to carry out his own investigation by going to the airport, where he found his wife preparing to travel with her lover. It all took place at the Milwaukee International Airport in the state of Wisconsin in December of 2022. On that occasion, when he confronted his wife, she tried to maintain appearances for a while, claiming that the man she was hugging was her brother. Since everything was already out in the open, however, she soon changed her response, admitting that he was her lover, someone she had been seeing for 3 months.
This ain't your sister.
Okay, you know what? You right. It's not my sister. This I've been talking to for 2 months.
Boy, so who's you?
Apparently, their marriage had not been going well. She had not been home for 2 days, telling her husband she was staying at her mother's place after work. In reality, she had spent 2 days at her lover's house. Things got worse on her husband's birthday, when she said she was traveling to her sister's place. He called the sister and discovered she had not been expecting any visit, so he headed to the airport and caught the pair red-handed. What stands out the most in the video is the wife's and her lover's audacity in believing they have the right to commit adultery. The husband even mentions that the man has no money, traveling on a budget airline, which seems to irritate the lover enough that he knocks the phone out of the husband's hand twice. The second time that happens, the recording ends, but the original poster said no one got into a fight. Once he had the evidence he needed, he simply left and posted the video online. What a disgrace, right? This husband found out he was being cheated on and did not waste any time. When his wife got home later that day, he simply threw her out, ending their relationship. He had already placed all her belongings outside and started recording just to protect himself, because as he says in the video, she was screaming and claiming he was assaulting her. In the video, you can see how upset she is about being treated like that, while the husband just keeps saying go on, for her to leave as soon as possible. She still seems to want to fight about it, wanting to confront him. Worst of all, she even asked for the house keys, but the husband, or rather ex-husband, just laughed, pointing out that the house was his, and all her things were already out.
Vai lá, tchau, tchau. Vai embora com o maninho, né? Vai lá, vai. As coisas dela aqui, vai embora. Vai embora, quer chegar tarde em casa, ó, dá nisso aí mesmo aí, ó. Mete mais.
That is what happens when you cheat on your partner. In the end, this woman threw her marriage away for a temporary fling. While a husband was confronting his own wife at the door of a motel, his friend decided to film them in order to expose the affair. The husband was in tears, unable to believe what was happening in his life. The worst part is that they even had a daughter together, and now the home was ruined by this adultery.
Fica o dia todo trabalhando, a rapariga faz isso. Olha aí. Rapariga. Olha aí. Olha aí, ó.
While the husband spent all day working to support the family, this was what his wife did behind his back. It is truly a heartbreaking situation. His friend, who went to the motel entrance to record the betrayal and provide emotional support, seems far more loyal than his own wife ever was. During a medical exam, a husband discovered his wife had been unfaithful. He walked out of the clinic already recording a video showing the lab results and all. He starts questioning her about the baby, asking who the father is. The wife keeps insisting it must be some lab error, but the husband refuses to buy it. She wants to convince him she is carrying his child, which was probably his dream. He had even bought baby supplies, but after that revelation, he filed for divorce right then and there. The wife was outraged and very worried about the recording he was making. She even tries to claim there might be some incompatibility in their blood, but the husband remains perfectly aware of the truth. Good thing he found out before the baby was born, and before a child had to witness the parents' divorce. Then there is this woman who said she was heading out to do some shopping, but in fact went off to cheat on her husband. In the video, he says he no longer wants to be with her, and not even her own mother will let her stay in her mother's house anymore. He also makes a scathing comment, saying everyone wants a relationship these days, but he wants to see if the man she cheated with will be willing to step up for her.
Hoje mesmo dizendo que ia para casa de uma tia fazer compra, mas ela engana minha mãe. Foi se encontrar com o outro namorado dela.
He is furious in the video, stating he would rather be alone than with a woman like that. You can see that she is already packing her things to leave. Odds are that her new fling will not truly want to commit, because these casual affairs do not usually last. Besides, how can you trust and start a serious relationship with someone who is cheating on her husband? Seems a bit contradictory, does it not? Take a look at these guys who were not content with cheating on their wives so blatantly that they went out to a bar for a double date, each man with a different woman. It did not take their wives long to discover the affair, and they certainly did not take it lying down. They stormed into the bar and smashed everything. When the husbands saw their enraged wives, one of them jumped up and tried to run. His wife swung her motorcycle helmet like a bowling ball, striking the bottles on the table. At that point, the lovers realized the danger and got up to leave. The only one who remained was the husband in a green shirt, who started getting an earful from his wife. Meanwhile, the other woman went after the one who had managed to flee the helmet attack. Just as quickly as they arrived, the wives stormed out, dragging their respective husbands with them. The funniest moment is when the second wife comes back at the end of the footage to grab 2 helmets off a table. Helmets that clearly were not hers. She was so riled up that she ended up stealing those helmets without even realizing it. Do not forget to subscribe for more videos like these.